Everybody unconsciously, which means they're not aware of it, hold on to things throughout their lifetime. And it's a lot of the past failures, the regrets, the breakups, the all the shit, right? And we don't realize how much that affects us on an everyday basis, right? We in those events are basically create the filter for our reality and how we live our lives. And so within that 2 days, I just cleared out so much stuff. I just essentially you just resolve it where you're just like, you know how I'm sure the guys listening to this could relate. 5 years ago you broke up with a girl or she broke up with you and you still think about her. And then it's usually when you're driving in your car or you're just like kind of hanging out and all of a sudden you think about her and you're like, oh, damn, man, that was the one that got away. Or, oh, man, I miss her. All that kind of stuff, when it puts you in that negative state of regret, of hurt, of sadness, or whatever, once you clear that out, there's a saying, every moment you spend in your past is a moment you live you lose living in the present to build your future. And that's what you're doing. You're just clearing out all the past stuff so you can be in the moment and start to be able to focus on the future. So that's what I did in that 2.5 day course. And what's funny is I'm now putting on my own 2.5 day course in like a month from now. It's not a hypnosis certification, but we're going to do it live and have people come and experience everything. And it's just funny. It's been 4 years and now it's coming full circle.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing, man. Dude, as you're talking, man, I was like, yep, I know that feeling. You see the black, you see the black Mercedes. You're like, yeah, she had a black Mercedes, and you start thinking about all these things. Or you drive by the restaurant where you guys had that great night. And you start thinking about it. You're like, yeah. So, I mean, what you just got to erase those memories? Is that what you're
No,
doing?
so this
What?
is
Well,
what it
actually,
is. Okay. Yeah. So I'll tell you how to do it. All events in life are neutral, which means there's no such thing as a good event. There's no such thing as a bad event. Everything is neutral because the event is determined off the perspective of the person doing it, right? Of experiencing it. And you could take the worst atrocities in the world. Let's take war. Is war good or bad? Well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask the guy that, owns the company that builds the tanks, he thinks it's good. If you ask the people getting bombed on, they don't think it's so good. So is war good or bad? It's neither. It's your perspective. So in life, when these neutral events happen to us, we get to decide, is this good or is this bad? Well, because of our negative bias as human beings, we tend to a lot of times think that things are negative, right? Oh man, I got in a car accident. This is so bad. Oh man, this girl broke up with me. This is so bad. Oh my God, I got this health issue. This is so bad. And when you perceive things in a negative way, what happens is your subconscious mind attaches negative emotions and limiting beliefs to these events until you go back and resolve them. And the way that you resolve them is you literally just shift your perspective and you go, hey, what did I learn from this event? You hear a lot of athletes say, right? You either win or you learn. And that's actually the science of how your subconscious mind works. If you think you lost and you go, oh, yeah, there might be an L on your record, but if you don't take any lessons from that event, that moment or whatever it may be will haunt you until the rest of your life until you go back and resolve it. So it's a matter of shifting your perspective and then you get that like, all right, I don't care about that anymore.
yeah, we've had a lot of conversations on the show around trauma, and I'm thinking about one in particular with Annie Yacht, who's a trauma specialist, behavioral change specialist. Her work is really centered around helping CEOs and business owners scale their companies through resolving the trauma of the owner, because oftentimes that's going to be a limiting factor. And I'm sure you can probably speak to this, right? Like limiting factor of the growth of the business is going to be the unhealed trauma of the owner. And we had this conversation like, how do we heal? How do we grow? How do we transcend some of these traumas? And it's like her whole kind of angle is it's our trauma is a story that we're telling ourselves about the past, speaking exactly to the perception. And what we need to do is we need to get ourselves back in that moment, begin to recreate or rewrite the narrative of what that story meant to us. And oftentimes I think that in of itself, and I think this is what you're getting to, right, is like we could change the meaning of that event. We can change what it did to us in the past, and we can change ultimately how we're going to use it in the future. Am I kind
Yeah,
of like in
that's
line with
it.
everything?
100% right. Yeah. It's a matter of shifting the perspective because what'll happen is one of our subconscious mind's prime directives is it stores our long-term memories and also it always wants to learn. So when something happens and you don't learn from it, that will stay stored and it'll give you negative emotions, anxiety, depression, sadness, or whatever until you resolve it. And if you let it get worse, this is how people create illnesses, disease, and all these kinds of crazy things.